Hereby I open this academic ceremony in which Yi Wu will defend the academic thesis Say No to the Knife, an investigation of Chinese and Dutch women's consideration of cosmetic surgery and how to intervene. May I invite you to present a summary of your study and the conclusions of your thesis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. You can go.
Okay. Thank you, Prorector. Dear Prorector, dear members of the Corona, dear family, friends, and audiences, within the next 15 minutes, I will present a summary of my thesis. And the topic of my thesis is Say No to the Knife, an investigation of Chinese and Dutch women's consideration of cosmetic surgery and how to intervene. First, I would like to give you some background information about my research. Being dissatisfied with appearance can negatively impact one's mental health, physical health, and social life. Compared to men, women are more susceptible to being dissatisfied with their appearance, and they tend to experience greater social appearance pressure. To buffer against the negative feelings induced by appearance dissatisfaction, women may use various ways to modify their appearance to meet the social beauty standards. However, some of the ways can be really health-damaging and even life-threatening in the long term. For example, to engage in disordered eatings and to misuse laxatives to lose weight. Today, undergoing cosmetic surgery is being seen as the most effective means to modify appearance according to personal preference and social beauty standards. There are more and more cosmetic procedures emerging in the market, and the procedures can be surgical or non-surgical. Before I continue, I would like to remind you that the next slide contains disturbing image, which can give us a better visualization of what real cosmetic surgery looks like. As a medical discipline, cosmetic surgery is associated with various health risks. However, the risks of cosmetic surgery cannot be justified on a health ground, but rather they are undertaken for purely aesthetic reasons. Nevertheless, the global demand for cosmetic surgery, predominantly among women, keeps increasing at an alarming rate. Among all the countries, China requires special research attention and proper intervention when it comes to cosmetic surgery. Chinese cosmetic surgery market expanding at a rate far exceeding that of other countries. While comparing the demand for cosmetic procedures, China was ranked the third in 2011 and took the second position in 2017 and topped the world in 2018. Worryingly, many procedures are performed by unlicensed surgeons at unqualified settings. And it also becomes increasingly prevalent to see adolescent girls who are not yet physically or psychologically matured to undergo cosmetic surgery. The average age of cosmetic surgery seekers in China is around 24.45. All these phenomena stress the need to gain more insights into contemporary women's, especially Chinese women's, views of cosmetic surgery. Meanwhile, it's important to understand the global popularity of cosmetic surgery from a cross-cultural perspective. To meet these overarching aims, 4 research were carried out within this project. Let's now take a look at them one by one. After realizing that there was no reliable questionnaire in Chinese to measure Chinese people's views of cosmetic surgery, we first translated the acceptance of cosmetic surgery scale. And we approved that it could be used among Chinese people. In the meantime, we found that Chinese women scored much higher than men on favorable attitudes towards cosmetic surgery, which echoes the global figure and leads to our next question. What factors would motivate women to undergo cosmetic surgery? To understand this from a cross-cultural perspective, we first did a questionnaire study. We invited Chinese women living in China, Chinese women living in the Netherlands, and Dutch women living in the Netherlands to participate in our study. They completed the acceptance of cosmetic surgery scale and a few other questionnaires measuring the factors that might be associated with cosmetic surgery consideration. And the key findings were both Chinese and Dutch women who worried about their appearance and who thought that having materialistic possessions is important in life happiness and success were more motivated to undergo cosmetic surgery. Beyond that, Chinese women in China and the Netherlands who appreciate their bodies turned to undergo cosmetic surgery. And this finding is in marked contrast with the broader literature, which has shown that appreciating one's body is related to less favorable attitudes towards cosmetic surgery. On top of these factors, among only Chinese women in China, older women and those who felt pressure to conform to the social beauty standards were motivated to undergo cosmetic surgery. Given that questionnaire findings could not fully capture the underlying meaning, we also conducted in-depth one-on-one interview with 20 Chinese women and 20 Dutch women to gain more insights into what they think would motivate women to undergo cosmetic surgery. Overall, Chinese and Dutch women shared many similarities in their responses, despite of the fact that China and the Netherlands have a lot of differences in their social-cultural characteristics. The most commonly described themes were undergoing cosmetic surgery is a social trend, or to say a fashion, and being frequently exposed to cosmetic surgery information and beautiful female figures on social media would make women feel pressured to also conform to the beauty standards via cosmetic surgery. Just two of the themes differed between Chinese and Dutch women. First, all Chinese women, but only 2 Dutch women, described that believing more socioeconomic benefits could be gained after becoming more beautiful would motivate women to undergo cosmetic surgery. Chinese women described that having an attractive appearance is a weapon for women to compete for finite socioeconomic resources. For example, to increase their chance to get married, to marry men with greater social status and financial capability, as well as to increase their chance to achieve greater career success. This was also seen as a reason, like why some Chinese parents are willing to pay for their daughters to undergo cosmetic surgery at an adolescent age. Another cross-cultural difference concerns body appreciation. Namely, Chinese women thought that appreciating one's body would encourage women to undergo cosmetic surgery, just as what we found in our questionnaire study, whereas Dutch women thought the opposite, which is in line with the literature. The difference in opinion might be due to the term appreciation is conceptualized differently in a Chinese context. The common belief is that those who appreciate their bodies tend to accept their bodies unconditionally and value what their bodies can do rather than how their bodies look. However, Chinese women describe that appreciating one's body means to pay extreme attention to their body and body appearance and to be willing to invest money to keep improving the body appearance. So while being asked why they understood appreciation this way, some of them went further and explained that they were often criticized by their parents who love and care about them very much and pay a lot of attention to them since childhood. Meanwhile, they were taught to keep improving themselves and to honor their family by being superior in all life aspects. Being raised up in such contexts, Chinese individuals may learn to associate appreciation with extreme attention, criticism, and the pursuit of perfection. And thus, who love and care about their bodies tend to be critical to their appearance and want to keep improving their appearance and to look superior compared to others. Okay, now let's come to the last research of the project to see whether cosmetic surgery consideration could be reduced using psychosocial intervention. We developed an online intervention program and implemented among Chinese women who saw themselves as being dissatisfied with their appearance and were considering undergoing cosmetic surgery. The program consisted of verbal, written, and behavioral tasks that asked participants to actively challenge the beauty standards and benefits of cosmetic surgery they were very likely to be exposed to in their daily life. While completing these tasks, participants were expected to experience negative feelings induced by having inconsistent attitudes. So, to eliminate negative feelings, participants were motivated to align their attitudes by rejecting the appearance ideals and reducing their cosmetic surgery consideration. The intervention consisted of 2 sessions, which were delivered with a 1-week interval. Participants' cosmetic surgery consideration and pressure to meet the beauty standards were measured at 3 time points. So before receiving the intervention, directly after completing the entire intervention, and at a 1-month follow-up. Immediately after the intervention, participants reported lower interest in cosmetic surgery and also lower pressure to meet the social beauty standards. Though these effects did not sustain at a 1-month follow-up, considering the brevity of our intervention, which only required 90 minutes in total to complete, and the fact our intervention is the first research-based intervention targeting cosmetic surgery consideration, we see our intervention effectiveness promising. And of note, the intervention results were obtained by comparing to a control group who didn't receive any intervention, but only an educational brochure containing information on cosmetic surgery risks. And now let's come to the main conclusions. First, Chinese and Dutch women share many similarities in their opinions about what might affect cosmetic surgery consideration. This shows that undergoing cosmetic surgery is has become a global rather than culturally specific phenomenon. This is very likely to be attributed to the social media, which enables a wide dissemination of appearance pressures and popularization of cosmetic surgery. The cross-cultural similarities may also be attributed to the global consumer culture, wherein having a perfect body appearance and possessing material goods are often depicted and idealized together. Therefore, women may be driven to undergo cosmetic surgery for a more materialistically satisfactory life. Relatedly, our findings show that, especially in the Chinese society, women may not pursue cosmetic surgery merely for appearance modification, but to increase the instrumental of their appearance through which to improve their socioeconomic status. Further, we found that the motives to undergo cosmetic surgery are predominantly psychological, also to buy into the objectifying information and thus feel pressure to conform to the beauty standards is seemingly the central psychological process that affects women's cosmetic surgery consideration. In line with this thought, we observed an immediate reduction in Chinese women's cosmetic surgery consideration after implementing a brief intervention, which guided them to actively challenge and resist internalizing the objectifying information. Next, though undergoing cosmetic surgery is seemingly a voluntary decision, we did recognize that many Chinese and Dutch women share that they feel quite pressured to undergo cosmetic surgery after seeing more and more women are becoming more beautiful via cosmetic surgery. The feeling of looking inferior and the fear of being left out of the intersexual competition forced them to consider undergoing cosmetic surgery, despite of their financial difficulties and the fear of health risks. And finally, it requires the collaboration of multiple social sectors and each member of the society to revolutionize the objectifying environment and to combat the era of face value. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I give the words back to the prorector.
Well, thank you very much for your clear and very interesting presentation. We have an all-female opposition, is what I saw, And the opposition will be opened today by Professor Dr. Madelon Peters. She's a chair of the committee and she is professor in experimental health psychology at this university. Professor Peters.
Thank you, Pro-Rector. Dear candidates, I would like to start by congratulating you on this very fine thesis, which I definitely have read with great interest because I'm not an expert in this area. And I read a lot of new things. And also you have a very thorough introduction and discussion about the cultural and historical background of surgery, cosmetic surgery in China, which was very informative. So congratulations on that, and also, of course, for your team. But of course, I'm here to ask you a question, and I've actually several questions. But I would like to start with a very brief question. And that's actually about your chapter 5, so the intervention study. Mm-hmm. And you say that it's modeled after the e-body project for eating disorder intervention. And but I looked it up. I was not familiar with it, but I looked it up, and I saw that it was a 6-session intervention, and you only made it 2 sessions. So why did you choose that? So maybe a brief answer.
Mm-hmm. We want to find the preliminary result first and to see whether this will work. And then, based on which we are planning, this is a future direction. So we want to design it in a longer way and then to also make it to be delivered in a more frequent way.
Okay, yeah. I can see that. So it was some kind of first test of principles that you could build on later on.
Yeah.
And that's the choice for the 2 sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. So where I actually now want to go at is, do you think, because if I look at your results, there were some preliminary or some short-term effects, but not in the long run. So there was no follow-up effects. Mm-hmm. And of course, what I was thinking, it is a very individualized intervention. But you write yourself, and you spent quite a lot of attention to that in China there is, and you also mentioned that in your presentation, there are actual social and socio-economic benefits of being pretty. And even in job advertisements, I learned from your work, it's being asked to be pretty for women. So is this fighting a losing battle, that you are targeting an individual person, whereas the whole society wants you to be pretty, and also there is an actual benefit? So do you think this is the way to go? Would you pursue this kind of work?
Yeah, first of all, I'm sorry that I forgot to say thank you and highly esteemed opponent.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm just so nervous. Thank you for your question. If I understood correctly, you're saying there is tangible socioeconomic benefits in a society like in China. So if I targeting on the individual cases, what about the social?
Yeah, do you think if you would continue this work or other continuing this work, do you think it should be along the same line? So have this individual intervention targeting an individual woman, whereas the society asks you to be beautiful, and also there is an actual benefit from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. While doing this research, I do realize how important each individuals are. I mean, it's kind of even though we're now just implementing the entire intervention to a kind of small group of women, on individuals, but we are expecting, after this intervention can be further refined and even be more accessible by more and more women, this will induce a societal level impact. I definitely agree that this is a social pressure thing. So if I just target a single woman, individuals, then probably it won't. The entire society is still trying to give them the pressure to undergo cosmetic surgery, this kind of appearance thing. But I think we have to have at least a small number of women to, step out, and then to start to reflect upon this, and then to break this vicious cycle that created by this, cosmetic surgery marketization. So, it takes time. It takes time to change, like to make a social impact, but just one step after another. So
that's understandable. But if I understand you correctly, you see potential in this kind of intervention, maybe with some modifications which you also propose in your discussion, and making it a bit longer and some other things. But then still. It's still directed at an individual, but you have to get these individuals, especially if you want to expand your research more society-wide. And my thought was, why would someone who is thinking, well, I have some benefit, it's accessible to me, I have an inclination to do cosmetic surgery, why would they engage in such an intervention which trying to withhold you from doing the thing you want? So how would you access them, especially if you wanted to have more society-wide? So what would your strategy be like?
Thank you very much. This time when I was implementing the intervention, how I reached the participants was, I think when I was doing the interview study, I do recognize some of the women were feeling forced to undergo cosmetic surgery. They were not really trying to do it, voluntarily, or it's like a pressure thing. So when I in the information letter, I said if you feel dissatisfied with your appearance, and if you are considering undergoing cosmetic surgery, and we are trying to give you something, and after completing that, we're expecting that you will feel better about yourself, and probably to reconsider undergoing cosmetic surgery. So this kind of information is because I recognize that women inside of them, some of them were I don't want it, but the society told me to or forced me to. So actually, they wanted to, I think inside of them, they really wanted to change this, and they really wanted to actually save them outside of this pressure. Okay. So they're kind of internally motivated, and after that I received some of the emails from the participants as well. So they say they feel more relaxed after participating in the intervention. So I feel very happy, and they say hope this intervention could be implemented among a bigger population. And then thanks.
Yeah. Okay. It's I'm very satisfied with the answer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, then we are going to switch to our online opponent, but it also gives me the opportunity to say welcome to all online guests here present at your defense. I'm sure there are many. Welcome to them, and also welcome to the online opponent. That's Professor Philippa Diedrichs. She's professor in psychology at the University of West England in Bristol. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I also want to extend my congratulations on the submission of this really important piece of work. I really enjoyed reading it, and in particular, the breadth of studies and methodologies that you employed throughout is really impressive. So my questions also primarily relate to your intervention chapter, and in particular, the dissonance-based intervention that you trialed. So as the previous opponent has said, you trialed the eBody project. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about the format of that intervention. Was it all just content that was delivered online, or was there actually an interactive element to it as well?
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you very much for congratulating words and our question. If I've understood correctly, you're asking for how this project, the format of it, and whether it is interactive or is mainly based on the individuals. So the intervention was actually adapted, from the eBody project. Like the one was mainly like developed for preventing eating disorders. So the eBody project mainly like trying to actively invite the participants to reject internalizing thing I do, and also like through which to reduce the eating disorders factors. So yeah, we adapt the thing I do items to more beauty ideal oriented. So instead of thinking about thin people, like how to say?
Yeah, I guess my question is more about the format of the intervention. So were the exercises presented in a didactic way, so they worked at their own pace through them, or was there someone present interacting with the participants online?
Thank you. No, it was like mainly interactive between the participants and the computer. Or, I mean, I designed I adapted items. It's kind of like way I designed the items. So I'm actually, in a way, interacting with them. Because of the pandemic, I was thinking like we are thinking to carry this out offline. But due to the global pandemic, we have to choose an online intervention, which also has the benefit, like it's wide dissemination and flexibility to participate in anytime. But yeah, I mean, the tasks are quite interactive in a way, because they are also positive body activity tasks that you need to find a friend or find a family member, and then to, just to talk to them, and then to tell them how you love your body, and to see how they respond. And also there's like fight back items. So the items are like, if you hear somebody saying your nose doesn't look beautiful, how would you respond?
Got it. But okay, that's helpful. Thanks. So from what I hear you're saying, though, there was no live interaction or interaction between a participant and another participant or with you. So based upon that, given that it was promising that you had some effects immediately post-intervention in terms of their intentions to have or their attitudes towards cosmetic procedures and internalization, but you didn't see any effects on any body image related measures, and also you didn't have any effects at 1 month follow-up, which I note in your dissertation, you highlighted that some of the limitations of online interventions can be a lack of sustained effects, for example. But given that you didn't have any interaction, and do you see ways in which you could enhance the online version of the body project so that it can be delivered online to bring stronger effects? And would introducing an interactive element be beneficial based on the evidence for the theory underlying cognitive dissonance, which is that if you do these actions that are counter-attitudinal, but you do them in public, you are much more likely to have greater cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, sorry. If I understand correctly.
So my question is to you, how would you enhance or improve on the online version of the body project? And can you see a way in which an interactive element might be beneficial?
Okay. I'll just check if I've understand correctly. So you're saying like if it's remain online, so it's like online intervention, how to maybe make it more interactive, and then whether it will produce like more beneficial result.
Produce stronger effects based upon the existing evidence base for online interventions and the theory for cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, like for the online intervention program, like in the future, I think some items can be more targeted on the socioeconomic benefits part. So to induce like stronger dissonance. So that's one thing could be done to refine the intervention. And more about the interaction part, yeah, I would like in the future, I would like to make this intervention more at a group-based level, but also can be carried out online. I mean, to invite all the peers and family members to join online, to create some interactions between them, like to invite those the participants love and care about, and also who can make an impact on their body image, like how they perceive themselves, and on their decision of undergoing cosmetic surgery. I mean, to maybe like something, have a Zoom session, or to make them join the.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Do you think that's realistic, that you would be able to get family members and friends to also join the interventions?
Sorry, you said that realistic? Whether that's...
Yeah, do you think it would be feasible or realistic for you to be able to have others join?
Thank you. I think that's realistic in a way, because usually like friends and family, if they know the participants is actually going through something, like and the public can be more educated with the harms that can be caused by the objectifying information and cosmetic surgery marketization. I think, the family members and peers would love to also help out. I mean, to create a stronger effectiveness.
I hope so too. I'm probably not as optimistic as what you are. So my final question is, putting cognitive dissonance interventions to the side. We've discussed ways in which you could potentially improve the existing intervention to have an impact, but based upon your knowledge of predictors of positive attitudes towards cosmetic surgery in terms of your own research findings, but the broader literature, what other existing body image intervention approaches or psychological intervention approaches do you think might be useful to try in terms of improving body image and also reducing positive attitudes amongst the Chinese population?
Can you give a short answer for this one?
Thank you for the question. I think so. There is an intervention in targeting on increasing the functionality of body. I mean, to make people more appreciative towards the body functionality. I think that's a good intervention that can also, be implemented among women who are considering undergoing cosmetic surgery, because nowadays the body is more it's like an entity for self-expression, but a functional meaning is kind of gradually being overlooked. So I would suggest to also, implement the functionality appreciation intervention. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The opposition will be continued by Professor Dr. Matthijssen. She is professor in plastic and reconstructive surgery and hand surgery at the Erasmus University Medical Center in Rotterdam.
Thank you very much. Dear candidates, I'd like to congratulate you and the team on a lovely work that you presented. And I share your concerns about these cosmetic surgeries to start off with. So don't think there will be hostile intervention or questions from my side. I share it. And to start off with, the recruitment that you did for your questionnaires that you did in chapter 3, they were mainly gathered through social media. What do you think that's the effect is of that approach?
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for congratulating words and your question. So sorry, can you just say the effect? Or
yes, you chose candidates for your questionnaires via social media. What would be different if you, for instance, chose your candidates via a clinic?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Let me think. I'm expecting some differences, especially, how to say that?
Would there be an effect in age, you think?
Effective in
age of the participants?
In age. I'm thinking in general, like the older women like probably will respond to the questionnaire in a different way, because like during their
No, I was more meaning like most of your participants are quite young.
yeah.
If you go to a clinic and invite people to join, wouldn't you have an older population in your study? Perhaps.
that's,
well, we'll never know. Huh? It's just a thought. Because I was wondering, it's now so popular to do all this cosmetic surgery, as you say. And is that because of the social media? Do you think that is the main reason? Or is it industry or something else?
Thank you for your question. I think it's the kind of collaboration between the cosmetic surgery market and the social media. Because the main source for cosmetic surgery information is the social media, and mainly is for the marketization purpose. So usually, like when I interview the participants, many of them describe cosmetic surgery as completely safe to undergo. And when I ask like where did they find this information, how did they heard about these procedures, they would just say from a certain smartphone app or just YouTube or Instagram. And so they say like, oh, see these successful cases and it's completely safe to undergo. And I also asked them like, some of them underwent some procedures that are kind of rare, so it's not really that popular. And I said like, where did you heard about this? They also said it's from the marketization, like the cosmetic surgery advertisement.
And do you think there's also a role of these influencers? They are often also very young and female on social media, and they're trying to sell this kind of surgery.
Yeah.
Do you think that is of big influence?
Thank you for your question. I would agree, and I think they're actually making a really big impact, because they usually have a lot of followers, and they would share mostly the positive side of cosmetic surgery, like how their life changes in a positive direction afterwards. But I'm not sure, like in a Western country, but usually in China, these kind of stories are with some kind of discount on the cosmetic procedures.
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of commercial interest. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true, that's true. Okay, and do you think they're actually happy, all these patients? Because some of the patients that you included did have surgery already. Do you have any feeling maybe from the interviews you did, does it bring them any happiness, you think? Are they satisfied?
Thank you for your question. Yeah, I mean, when I was interviewing them, I sometimes feel like super stressful. I mean, they are super stressed. And some of them say like, after this, I would want to undergo more and more and more. So it's not really about satisfaction, but a wanting for more. So they desire more. And when I was asking them whether you're happy with your result, they would say, my nose is much more improved, my this is much more improved, but then my eyes doesn't look good, and my face contour, etc. So yeah, I mean, they also asked me like, some of them shared about this cosmetic surgery addiction, so that being addictive sometimes can make them feel like very burdensome, because they need to save more money for more procedures. But in like on the other side, they also feel like they didn't know like how to stop this. So I wouldn't think they're happy, but they're more like into this kind of stress.
One final question, if I may, short one.
Very short.
Very short. Could you just theoretically explain or tell me what you expect if you did your studies with males?
With males?
Are they stronger? Do they just say, I don't care how I look? Or what kind of difference would you expect?
Thank you for your question. So you mean the entire project?
Yes. And then just a big conclusion. Will they react the same to the pressure if we put them under pressure?
Thank you. To be honest, according to my knowledge, I would say like Chinese men would respond in a similar way compared to just like the Chinese women. Because like there's already an increasing number of Chinese males undergoing cosmetic surgery also for socioeconomic benefits. And yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your answer. Thank you. Thank you. And I hand back the word to the conrector.
Thank you very much. The opposition will be continued by Dr. Martijn. She's Associate Professor at the Clinical Psychological Department, Clinical Psychological Science Department, at this university.
Thank you. Dear candidate, also my congratulations, because I was really impressed by your thesis and because you employed so many methods, interviewing, an intervention, a questionnaire study. That's really impressive. But now I'm going to pester you a little bit. I'm going to challenge you. Because I was reading your whole thesis and I thought, what is the problem here? What is the problem about cosmetic surgery? Because I did some research and I saw the first man 5,000 years ago was found with a tattoo. And then I found that 30% of the Dutch population has a tattoo. So as we are sitting here, 3 of these people have a tattoo on places that we don't want to know, but they have tattoos. Also, our children, they go to the dentist for braces to have perfect teeth. I wish my mother had done that. It was too expensive in that time, but we do that. Men have hair implants. We have PhD students in our group who go to the gym to have a perfect body. Yeah, I can go on and go on. Piercings. So what we do is we want to improve our bodies. But if people dye their hair, they don't expect to be happy and that somebody, a very rich person, is going to ask them to marry them. So it's just not normal cosmetic surgery yet. So isn't the real problem that cosmetic surgery in China is so dangerous? Because I also read in your thesis that 90% of those procedures is performed in illegal, by illegal practitioners. So shouldn't we make it very safe and also available for everyone so that we can all have cosmetic surgery? And I really encourage that the men have it too, cosmetic surgery, that they are eye candy for us women too. So I think, what's the problem here? What do you think? What's your opinion about this?
Thank you, esteemed opponent, and thank you for congratulating words and compliments, and also the question. If I understood correctly, you're asking what is the main difference between, or what separates cosmetic surgery out from other body appearance modification behaviors.
Yeah.
First of all, cosmetic surgery or cosmetic procedures in general, no matter non-surgical or surgical, can like they are medical. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they are more invasive compared to tattoo or like ear piercing or hair dyeing, etc. So it's more, yeah.
But I sometimes see tattoos who are very invasive, that they have them all here and they can't get rid of it. So it's also quite invasive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yes, but according to my knowledge, it's more on the skin, layer. So it wouldn't really go deeper, like to hurt the nerve or like to even reshape the bones, like the bone structure thing. But what the cosmetic surgery market is doing is that they're trying to, to increase the profits by inventing more and more procedures that can cause serious problems. Like in China, there's a way to cut your leg nerve to just make your leg look slimmer, and also to reconstruct the entire face to make it smaller so you can take good selfies. But it's like involving this kind of entire facial bone restructure technique. Mm-hmm. So to me, medical techniques are mainly to improve body function and then to make people become healthier. But cosmetic surgery as a unique medical discipline is actually cutting in or doing something unnecessary or to open, the skin for aesthetic reasons, and it's like cutting on a well-functioning body and at a risk of harming it. So that's why I think cosmetic surgery is different from the others. And also things like this whole profit thing. So now there is a trend that cosmetic surgery marketization is more promoting on the male side, like they're targeting male consumers to increase the profits, and also they're inventing more and more procedures to increase the profits. And that's my last response. So it's just about the profits and marketization, and they can invent a new procedure and they introduce a new beauty ideal and told you this is beautiful, and then to attract vulnerable candidates or consumers to come to them. And the only winner is the market itself. But
You have fully convinced me. I'm not going to do it, cosmetic surgery. No, but really well argumented. Thank you. That was very good. I'm very satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we go to our next opponent, and that's Dr. Stutterheim. She's an associate professor from the Department of Health Promotion at the Maastricht University.
Thank you. That's a hard act to follow, Dr. Martijn. But, candidate, may I also commend you and your team on your excellent thesis. I think it's been mentioned by Professor Diederik and also Dr. Martijn that it incorporates a number of methodologies, and it demonstrates a lot of diversity in your skill set as acquired over the past couple of years. It looks at cosmetic surgery cross-culturally, and I love the fact that it's a feminist work that also serves as social critique. And I think that's all manifested here as well in our representation. In the dissertation, in your presentation, over the course of the conversation that we've been having thus far, it's been apparent that the drivers of cosmetic surgery demand are not only individual level drivers, so not only individual level attitudes. There's a lot of other stuff at play within the social environment, within society. And you mentioned explicitly in the dissertation, I've talked about it as well here, that there's a socio-cultural context that we should be taking into consideration. You've mentioned the marketization, you've mentioned peer pressure. In your dissertation, you mentioned as well parents' willingness to pay for cosmetic surgery. And I come from a field of behavior change, and so we often work towards interventions, right? And there's an intervention described in Chapter 5, a cognitive dissonance intervention, and it focuses then explicitly on women themselves and on their own attitudes towards cosmetic surgery. But I'm wondering if we were to go beyond the walls of the individual level interventions to something in a more socio-cultural context that targets, for example, social norms. What would that look like? What do you think an intervention that targets the social environment would be, or based on the findings from chapters 3 and 4, what kind of social environment level intervention could you conceive of?
Thank you, esteemed opponent, and thanks for the compliments and your question. So, if I understand correctly, you're asking if go beyond the individual level, like to make the intervention more focusing on the social norm, how the intervention will look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, the first thing coming to my mind is like the body image workers have to collaborate with the social media workers. So they can spread the positive body image, this kind of information, and to educate the public. So, and also I think like the policymakers, they need to also step in, like to collaborate with the body image workers, and then to actually intervene with stricter policies that to regulate the entire cosmetic surgery market and to also monitor the social media access and the advertisement putting on the social media. So the entire society, like the final point I've said, so all the social sectors need to co-work, like collaborate together and to make this kind of social level change. But at a very basic, because this societal level change will take time, at this very basic stage, we're still expecting that individuals would have more tactics to resist internalizing the objectifying environment, and then to have a stronger resiliency, when they encounter any appearance pressure in the society.
Yeah, I agree that it's worthwhile to target both those who, on an individual level, have to navigate the attitudes towards that, and also from a policy level to intervene to better regulate and tap into advertisements. What if we go a little closer to home in terms of the roles of peers and family? What would you envision as a means or a method of intervening there?
Thank you for your question. You're asking that what if we include the peers and family members, how the intervention will be like?
Yeah, to some extent, but more if we were going to develop an intervention that targets parents, what could we do? What would be an effective method for targeting parents? How do we get parents to not want to pay for their daughter's cosmetic surgery?
Thank you for your question. First of all, all the parents want the good for their children. So I think their value is being shaped by the entire society, the consumeristic and materialistic beliefs. But if the parents can have the chance to step back, to reflect upon what's going on, whether this is just something created by this entire consumer culture, or it is true that if my daughters undergo cosmetic surgery, then would have a more successful future. If they, in the intervention, what I would do is, it's just like what I've done in my intervention study, but it's more targeting on the parents, and then to let them actually think what they want for their children. Mm-hmm. And then what are the long-term, lifelong goals for the children, and then with incorporating their personal experience to actually see what kind of skills or what kind of abilities that they should focus on to help their children to develop, besides just focusing on the appearance thing.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we go to Professor Dr. Slapman. She's a professor of medical and health humanities at Tilburg University. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. First of all, I would join my colleagues in congratulating you and your supervising team. I learned a lot from your book, and I especially liked very much what you said, the difference between conditional and unconditional body appreciation. I think that was kind of insightful observation. But of course, also I have to ask you a mean question maybe, or playing a bit the devil's advocate. I will ask you something about, say, the normative claim of your book. You say no to the knife. That is really very normative. The idea is to reduce cosmetic surgery because, it's maybe not safe, then there's all kind of health problems concerned with it. But then the idea to do this through this intervention, and I'm not a psychologist, and I termed it as a kind of a brainwashing tool to change people's thoughts about something. And so the question is that, so it's more maybe a kind of an ethical question. Question is it morally desirable to do it in that way? Because if you make a comparison, for instance, with drinking alcohol, is also not so very healthy. But we all do it, or most of us do it. But imagine you go to the liquor store, and then the guy from the liquor store say, well, first you have to do this intervention and can see whether maybe you want to change your mind. We probably would say, well, that's not going to happen, and also we would not like it because it's kind of paternalistic, isn't it? So the first concern with the intervention, I would say, maybe it's not so desirable because it's rather paternalistic. And another concern, and that's maybe more important, is does it not contradict the principle of bodily autonomy, which of course is a very important principle. And also I just read a report that's launched from the UN. The title was My Body is My Own, about reclaiming the right to autonomy and self-determination, especially for the female population in China. And of course, that has much to do with, say, sexual autonomy or reproductive autonomy. But of course, if you want to plea for autonomy, isn't it then not contradictory to say, well, but you should not do cosmetic surgery? So there are two concerns here, the paternalistic thing and the principle of autonomy.
Thank you, highly esteemed opponent. Let me take a moment to think. I will first respond to the autonomy part. I fully respect like individual decisions. Like they should be autonomic. But when it comes to cosmetic surgery, and as a body image worker, my main concern is their health and their body functionality. So that's why, like, I think now there this kind of power from the cosmetic surgery marketization is trying to make people pay full attention on how their bodies appear instead of how their bodies could function. Mm-hmm. So this kind of meaning, the value of the functionality is kind of being overlooked. So that just makes me think, is that, if there is this power, then as the body image worker, we should also guide the public to reprocess the things they receive from social media, and then to reconsider whether cosmetic surgery is really something necessary or it's just created by the current age, like for the profitable purpose. So so as a researcher, I'm reporting, and I feel I think like it would be extremely important to let the public know more about why like many people are undergoing cosmetic surgery, and then to rethink about it, to actually reflect upon it, take some time, and then to listen what's actually saying in their heart instead of just following the majority, following this entire marketization and popularity. So I'm not forbidding them, but I would say, take time and actually think who is the one is dominating your decision, yourself or the market.
Well, that's a
thank you.
Nice answer. And how would you, how to deal with the paternalism? So for instance, we would not like it for the alcohol consumption. So if someone's constantly giving me an intervention to have to change my mind about whether I should drink alcohol or not. So I can also imagine that I would not like it to have an intervention, that I have to change my mind. It's also a bit maybe, it's like, okay, you have the wrong thoughts about cosmetic surgery or about drinking alcohol, isn't it? And that's what you want to change with the intervention. But I can imagine that a lot of people do not like that. So I know that you have wrong thoughts or a wrong attitude or whatever, and now we're going to change that. Do you see what I mean? Maybe it's also a bit resonating with the first question. So you're targeting the individual. And it's as if the individual is doing something wrong or is thinking something wrong or.
Thank you for your question. I think now is like the collective, it becomes like a common thing, like on a social level. So to undergo cosmetic surgery. Yeah, just like drinking alcohol. After we know, like we do more and more research on alcohol consumption, how that will harm our body, our physical health, then the public is more accepting that. So think like, oh.
You can shortly finish your answer if you want. Do you want to finish your answer, or do you think it's okay?
I would just say no to the knife.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, the time appointed for defending your thesis has passed. The decree committee here will now withdraw to discuss the quality of your thesis and your defense. And I request you and your company to await the results of our deliberations and our return in this room.
Please,
The PhD defense has now ended. The degree committee will debate the candidate's performance behind closed doors. This process usually takes about 10 minutes.
Long road to the south side. 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. All your time, 'cause I'll go the extra mile. Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the dash, got my laces tied. Long road, I don't waste no time. Break rules because fate decides. With the team and we chase the light. I make a move, fall down, shake it off. I hate to lose, bad branch, break it off. No room for negativity, praise and love. Prepare for deep part cause we're taking off. Get the mileage, traveling so far from home. Gathering knowledge, other connections. I put the time in to get everything I ever hoped for. It's a challenge and we all in. It's a better future that we go for. Even though these nights seem long, I know that I am never on my own. Know you won the battle once you've grown. Southside, 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goal's only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. gonna fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile.
to the acceptance of your thesis also well ahead of time. And if there were no summer holidays, your defense would also have taken place a long time ago. So let me start by congratulating you with this work and by telling you that both Jessica Aliva, your co-promoter, and myself are extremely proud of you. Not only for the past 4 years, but especially today, when it all came together. I will now explain to the audience a bit about your journey and about you as a person. I remember very well how we first got in touch. You wrote me an email almost 5 years ago in December to express your interest in doing a PhD with me. It came out of the blue, and at first I was not sure whether this was a real request or something fake. But more and more emails came, and we scheduled a couple of Zoom meetings about the potential content of the project. I informed myself about the CSC, the China Scholarship Council possibility. And in these emails and during the Zoom sessions, you came across as someone who really knew what she wanted. Your CV was also very good. You had studied a bachelor and 2 masters in the UK. So I became increasingly curious about you. And then we soon involved Jessica, as we would be a great team together, combining body image and cross-cultural differences and intervention. You applied with CSC and it got accepted. And I remember that I was in Utrecht with Anita for a workshop in May 2018 with Glenn Waller, you remember? When we heard about the news, and later that year in October, 4 years ago now, you arrived. And you described that very first day in October when we met in person in your acknowledgement. And I remember that moment also very well. We were both nervous, I guess, because we didn't know what to expect. And there she was, this ambitious, tall Chinese woman who gave us a lot of insight into her culture and country. You told me a lot on that first day, not only personal things, but also about life in China. I must say that I was shocked, and also Jessica, I remember, that about how things were organized, especially with the cosmetic surgery, and how difficult it was for women like you to stand out, especially if you had a different opinion. And the first year you struggled a lot because of the ambitions, sometimes stressed you out. And you seemed much more insecure than you showed at first. Your expectations about the number of publications, for instance, were very high, and you just worked. You worked so hard that Jessica and I had to force you to take a day off or even a vacation. And also you seemed so occupied with meeting the standards that you thought we and other people expected. You were always so polite and modest and perhaps a bit afraid in social contexts. So what a surprise you gave us when you showed us the other side of E. For example, before a presentation you were nervous, emailing us a lot and commenting negatively about yourself. However, when the actual presentation was there, you presented so well and was so funny, almost like a comedian. And at my 50th birthday, you sang Happy Birthday with my Chinese neighbors in Chinese in front of many people. And you also very easily converted in being an actress. She's an actress also, playing all kinds of simulated patients in several courses in our psychology department. And it became increasingly clear that with UE we caught a big fish. We were so lucky to supervise such a smart, nice person. And your work became noticed. Studies were cited in the US and in Croatian newspapers. And only being in your second year, you won an important prize. Professor Lina Ricciardelli Appearance Matters Conference Early Career Researcher Scholarship. This meant a lot of honor, but also some money to attend the conference. And we made plans to go there together. It was very exciting, your first conference. But then COVID came. And we all know the consequences. Not only could we go nowhere to present our work for more than 2 years, but also the studies you had set up had to be switched to online studies. And not in the least, it meant for you that you could not visit your family in China for a very long period of time. I cannot imagine how that must be for you. Still, you adapted so easily during COVID, and you seemed okay with it, but you had to live with many more challenges than any of us. And you did not complain, ever. And to finally go to a conference, we went to the AABCT in Belfast last year in September. It took us an enormous effort to go there, COVID regulations, visa applications, but we were there. And I'm glad that you were able to present your work there. And then you surprised us again. You announced last year that you were going to be engaged. And then on March 10 this year, you got married to How. And then things went very fast. You finished your thesis, moved to Munich, and are living together there. As far as I know, you're still in the process of finding yourself a job so you can stay for a few more years. And we sincerely hope that this will happen. You're an amazing person. You're kind, thoughtful, smart, and you have been an excellent researcher in the past 4 years. You tend to surprise everyone around you. Jessica and myself are extremely proud of you. Congratulations. And we also would like to congratulate your husband, Hao, who is definitely online somewhere in the cloud, and also your parents in China, also joining online with this fantastic achievement. So let's raise the glass.
Dear Dr. Hu, also on behalf of the Maastricht University and the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience, and in particular the Department of Clinical Psychological Science, I want to congratulate you with the milestone that you have reached and the degree of today you have acquired. And also some congratulations to your supervisors, who of course are also very proud of you and did a lot of work and are happy with you and your degree. I want to thank the opponents, also especially the people from Rotterdam and Tilburg, but also our online opponent from Bristol, far away from Bristol. Thank you very much for coming to Maastricht and having the opposition here. For now, we are first going to make some nice pictures, first in the room with the online opponents, so then we are all together, and then we go to the stairs and have other pictures. So we have a very professional photograph in the room. And the people in the room, you can already go to the reception and have a drink, because there's no brainwashing today. It's only, we can have nice drinks, and then we will join later. Yes? Then I close this, this meeting for today. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.